But I keep being too caught up by all my demons, lost without the love, and I'm a slave to...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of On The Line Live Stories, where I speak to some incredible individuals who are related to Aston Villa in some manner about their life stories. And today, I'm joined by a writer and a podcaster for The Athletic, Gregg Evans. Greg, how are you?
Liam, good, thanks. Very, very kind of you to invite me on. Yeah, doing very well, thanks. You know, the world's a bit strange, isn't it, at the moment? But I'm getting by, mate, getting by, and the football's keeping me going.
Yeah, of course, you're a writer, you're a reporter for Aston Villa, and Villa have been on a great run recently, but of course they lost 3-0 to Leeds just recently. What are your thoughts on that performance?
Yeah, I didn't really expect it, to be honest. I thought because the season had started so well, I thought they'd put up a little bit more of a fight against Leeds, and just kind of, they were outclassed, weren't they, really, to be honest? It was just one of those performances where everything went in Leeds' favour, and credit to Leeds because, it was their hard work that got them there. And I actually watched the game with former Villa captain Liam Petrov. We did.
Wow.
I wasn't at Villa Park for that game. I decided to do something different for the day, and we did something similar to this. Really, just it was over Zoom. I watched the game in my front room. He watched the game in his front room, and I just got him to analyse the game. It was a brilliant few hours, really. Stan's fantastic company, and he really analyses the game well now. And it's just a shame, really, that we had to do it for Villa's first defeat of the season. But yeah. Still good fun.
I mean, we've got Southampton next, haven't we? And hopefully Villa will bounce back from that defeat against Leeds. What are your predictions for that game?
Yeah, I think Southampton are going to be a tough game as well. I seen a graphic up on Twitter this morning just of the teams, how the teams have performed since lockdown, and I think Southampton were third or fourth in the table, which is incredible, really. And they've really turned it around. I really rate the manager, and I like watching some of the players there. I think it'll be a tough game for Villa. I'm not great with predictions, Liam, as you might know if you listen to my podcast with Dan Bardell, but I actually do fancy Southampton as well. But I'm hoping a little bit of reverse psychology will mean that Villa win.
Now, I want to delve into your life story, and I'm sure many people can relate to this, watching this episode, that when we're younger, we're often asked what we want to be when we're older, and the questions pops up throughout your lifehood. So for you, did you always want to be a journalist, and did you have any other ideas of what you wanted to be now as an adult?
Yeah, good question. No, I didn't. I didn't always want to be a journalist, really. I suppose to take it right back, at school, I didn't really enjoy school. I looked forward to PE lessons where I could go and play football or, hockey or running or anything like that. I was good at sports. And I looked forward to when school was finishing so I could go and play golf. It was just, I didn't really like school. I didn't really want to do any further education after that. When I was 16 and I went on my lad's first holiday, I remember I had to seriously persuade my mum to let me go, and she didn't want to, but she let me go at 16. But no, it's a bit of a sad story, really, what followed, because I was involved in a car crash, and one of my best friends died.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. I mean, looking at it's been a while now, but he was a professional golfer at the time. He'd just become a professional golfer, and for the kind of 2 or 3 years that followed, I almost sort of lived his dream, if that's the right way to put it. I almost felt it was, it was the way I need. It's hard to put it, really. I just felt that because he had succeeded so much, because he had achieved so much so early, and it was taken away from him so cruelly, I thought that now I want to become that professional golfer. I always had aims and ambitions of becoming a professional golfer, but when you're that age, 16, 17, 18, you get a bit blinded and you think that it's possible, but you have to be so talented, you have to be so driven. I wasn't either of those, for those 3 years, 16 to 19, I sort of lived almost his dream, and tried to I didn't say live his dream, tried to achieve his dream. And I worked in a golf shop, tried to become a professional golfer, realised that I wasn't good enough. And I think it was when I got to 19, really. And I just thought, look, I'm 19 years old now. You know, I almost found myself at that time and thought, I've got to change. I've got to do something I want to do. So me and one of my best friends went to a college course, a creative writing college course at Sutton Coldfield. And from there on, I didn't look back. You know, he's now a podiatrist, a foot doctor. That is, for those who don't know it. And I carried on with, you know, becoming a sports journalist. So when I got to 19, I realised it was for me, and it all went from there. Then
I listen to a lot of podcasts and I read a lot of books about people like Dwayne Johnson, really famous people, and a key to their successes is having a close group around them who they can talk to. Now, for yourself, did you find that at a young age and as life progressed that friends were an important part of your life?
Yeah, certainly. I've always had the similar group of friends. You know, some friends have come and gone, but the majority of the people that I'm very close with now are the friends that I've known from, you know, 12, 13, 14 onwards. You know, when I went to senior school and the people that I lived around with. Strange, really, because academically, a lot of my friends weren't very successful. You know, they all moved on to do things that they learnt after school and things like that. And I think you have to get to a certain age before you sort of find yourself and realise what you want to do. And to be honest, no, that there wasn't anybody pushing me. My mum's always been very supportive. She's always been, you know, right by my side. You know, the real encourager in my life. She's done absolutely everything for me and my sister. And you know, we weren't sort of brought up with a lot of money behind us, but you know, we were loved more than any child in the world was. You know, so I've always felt that it was that I wanted to do something to make her proud. And you know, becoming a journalist did. You know, when she saw my name on the back page of the Solihull News for the first time, writing about Solihull Moors Football Club, you know, she couldn't have been more proud. And you know, she still is to this day. So she's been my real main inspiration and encourager over the years.
You talk about the fact that you didn't grow up on a lot of money. So did that motivate you to work harder?
Yeah, I mean, look, don't get me wrong, Liam. You know, we weren't poor. We just weren't rich, and it was kind of like, you know, I wanted to do something for myself. I always wanted to become responsible and fend for myself. You know, my mother gave literally every single penny to me and my sister. You know, if she had £5 in a purse, it would be to spend on me and her. And I got to the stage where I realised that I wanted to give something back to her. And you know, as soon as I was old enough to work, I pretty much did that and started to support myself, really. But yeah, it was never a dream of me wanting to be rich or, you know, wealthy or anything like that. I just wanted to do something that made me happy and something that paid me reasonably well.
You talk about the importance of working hard and being resilient and being determined. Now, what other core values do you believe you need to possess in order to excel within the journalism industry? And do you believe that you found those at a young age, or did they take time to realise that you had these skills?
Yeah, strange, really, because it's like, you know, it's the old imposter syndrome. I've always felt that's you know, that's been me. I'm waiting for somebody to expose me. I'm waiting for my boss to phone me up and say, Greg, you're not good enough. You know, this isn't for you. But I think genuinely, it's only probably over the last couple of years that I've really started to believe in myself and actually understand and recognise that, you know, I am good at what I do now. And it took me a long time to realise that. When I was a journalist breaking in, so to speak, you know, I was 20 years old. I worked at Solihull News, and I remember going, you know, I used to drive into work, and I used to be so nervous, thinking my editor, Ross Crawford, who, you know, I'll never forget his name because it was, he helped me so much. It was such a good grounding working at that company and learning what it was like to be a real reporter. And, you know, in this nonsense world of clickbait reporting, being a local reporter 12 years ago when I started, you actually were a local reporter. You know, you went out and you got stories, you immersed yourself in the community. And yeah, it was difficult for me for a long time. You know, I mentioned that my mum gave me everything when I got my job at Solihull News. she gave me her car because she knew that I had to that was the only way I could function as a journalist, having a car. And I'll never forget the one day, you know, I used to work close to Solihull Town Centre. She worked in Solihull. I'd drop her into work every day and then go to do my job, because I was still living, you know, at home at that point with my parents. And the one day I remember, it was a Thursday and it was before deadline day. You know, deadline day for a newspaper is, you know, just the day before the newspaper's coming out. And I dropped her off to work, and she could tell that something wasn't right with me. And she said, "You all right, Greg?" And I said, "Mum, I'm fucking shit scared about going into work. Honestly, I've got no stories. My boss is going to ask me what I've got, and I've got nothing to give him." And like, I felt physically sick. But I remember going into that day and something landed on the table. I can't remember what the story was, but something happened, and you know, I got through it. And it's just like, when I look back now, and I mentioned at the start of the conversation, you know, I sat for 2 hours with Liam Petrov doing an interview. And if you'd have told me I'd be doing that 12 years ago, you know, I'd have laughed you out of court. It's ridiculous. But, you know, I feel blessed that I've gone through that journey, and I'm here now enjoying it every day.
There's a famous phrase, and it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And as well as you being a fantastic reporter and having the skills to excel within the industry, how important is it, as well as being at home and having the relationships with your family and your friends, having those relationships within work and going to people like Liam Petrov to talk to, etc., having those links within a workplace? How important is that?
Yeah, huge. Look, for a journalist, it's all about your contacts. You know, it's who you know. It's not what you know. That's true, Liam, as you say. And it's a long old slog. You know, journalists who come in and they start early. You know, I remember what it was like. I didn't know anybody. My job as a local reporter at Solihull was to immerse myself in the community. So I had to get to know council leaders, had to get to know local MPs, had to get to know famous, important people in the town and things like that. And it's just the same now with my job now covering Aston Villa. You know, I need to know the players at Aston Villa. I need to know the manager, the most prominent supporter groups, etc. The former players. It's just the same now, and it's difficult building contacts. Yeah, you know, you have to really, push yourself to get to know people and build relationships and show them that, you know, you're a trustworthy person. You're just trying to do your job, but you're trying to do it in the right way. I always feel that as a journalist, you know, it's not about me trying to write something negative about someone. That's never motivated me. I got into this industry because I love football. I love watching football. And the most rewarding thing for me is writing a story about something brilliant that someone's done. And if ever I get that email or that phone call and they say, "Thank you, Greg, I've just read the story that you've done on me," amazing. There's no better feeling than that for me. And, you know, that's what I try to work around, in my week.
Yeah. And you said that you worked for that Solihull, the local paper in Solihull. Do you have any stories or instances that surprised you? And what were some of your first articles that you wrote for them?
It's hard, actually. Do you know what? I can't remember the first. I can't remember the first few stories now. I suppose I should. Look, you know, I'm living with my granddad now. Me and my wife made the decision to become my granddad's full-time carer at the start of January. He's 96 years old now. So, you know, we thought, look, probably know he hasn't got too many years left. So let's make the final years of his life the most enjoyable. And, he used to always have the Solihull News delivered to his house because it was a free paper. And he used to cut out every single article that I wrote. So I could probably go next door and have a look for you, because I genuinely can't remember the early ones. But I remember a funny one. Like, my friends used to always take the mick out of me because there's a park that's close to my house, and obviously we used to go there as kids. And there was like a sculpture of an owl. Right, and I mean, this is just showing you what local reporting is like. There was a sculpture of an owl, and his name was Twitter's the Owl. And
no.
anyway, somebody's graffitied on it, and I've had to do the story. Somebody's graffitied on Twitter as the hour. I mean, look, this is the type of level I'm writing about. And obviously some of my mates have picked it up and they're like, wow, Greg, you're going places. You are. We can see you're progressing in your career. But yeah, I mean, again, it's looking back now, and I sit in front of, Jack Grealish and run through a video analysis of his career highlights, and I sometimes think back to those days and think, look, it shows that with hard work and determination you can progress and get to where you want to be in your career.
Yeah, I was going to say, looking back now, working the Athletic, such a prominent news source within the media, and looking back to those articles and when you're at the Solihull local newspaper, how much do you feel you've progressed?
Yeah, massively. Look, I feel, as I say, I always felt like I was winging it in those first few years. I was nervous. I remember interviews were quite tough for me, coming face to face with people. I never really was a very confident person. I still don't know how I got the job, to be honest. Something we might come on to later possibly, but I do remember the interview that I had to get that job, and I was shaking like a leaf. I was so nervous. But I knew I had something in my back pocket, and maybe that was me just having that edge even at 19, to think outside the box and do something different. But I actually researched what the editor was like, and I found out that he was into cycling. And, I sort of stuttered my way through the interview. But then he asked me, he said, what would you do if you got this job? What would you bring to the sports pages? And I just said, well, I'd like to improve the cycling department. I think that cycling's a big thing in Solihull, and like I could see his eyes sort of light up, and I thought from that moment, it doesn't matter what I say now, I reckon I've got this job. And that just shows, if you do your research, if you give everything, and be honest, you don't have to be the best, but if you can show that you've got something different, you've got initiative, then that can sometimes set you apart from the rest. But yeah, sorry, Liam, to answer your question, yeah, I do feel like I have developed a lot. I feel like I've developed the most over the last sort of 18 months since I moved to the Athletic. The one thing that we have at the Athletic that I probably haven't really had throughout my career, even when I was working in sales in a golf shop, and in my previous jobs as a journalist, I never really used to get much feedback on what I was doing right or what I was doing wrong. But at the Athletic, I get that every day almost, and I'm challenged every day. But at the same time, if I do something well, I'm rewarded for it. So that's helping me.
So you said that you were nervous in your first few interviews and first few articles, etc., but you knew that you did have that ability to become even better, and now you're a very confident speaker. Did you have those mentors in your life, such as your family members, your friends, that helped you to progress, or anyone within the Solihull local newspaper? Was there anyone who helped you regarding a mentor to progress within the media industry? Yeah,
definitely. I have to admit, I've always had a fantastic team that I've worked alongside. When I was at the Birmingham Mail, I was a young reporter at the time, obviously very young, the youngest in the group. And I had older reporters who I could look up to. Colin Tatham, who covered Birmingham City, was amazing with me. He used to always tell me how to be a proper journalist, the right ways to build relationships. Matt Kendrick, who was the Aston Villa writer at the time, was very helpful as well. He helped ease me into life as the Villa reporter, and I'm very grateful to him. And also Chris Lepkowski, who was the West Brom reporter, Bill Howell, who was the Wolves reporter, Brian Dick, who used to cover rugby at the time, and he's now a very close friend of mine. He covers Birmingham City. I've got a lot to thank for him, because in the times of struggle, he was always sort of on my side and keeping me going almost during tough times. But yeah, but I do, I think that I've learned a lot myself. I feel like I self-analyse a lot of things. I'm quite critical of myself, and I've always been one to sort of set targets. And even though I was very worried that I'd always get fired, it seemed every time I got that phone call, it was for a promotion, and I just thought, maybe I'm actually all right at this.
Now, in order to progress within the media industry, the journalism industry, you had to start at a local newspaper, and you mentioned it previously in this interview that you started in Solihull, their local newspaper. Now, people such as myself and others, other young people who want to progress within the industry, they turn to fan media. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good way in now. Yeah, I think, it's very different to when I started out in 2008. Times have changed. Content is readily available everywhere, isn't it? And you don't necessarily have to be attached to a company to be providing content. Excuse me. So yeah, it's a good way to start. The only one thing I would say is it's very easy for supporters of a certain club to get stuck writing on their particular team and thinking that this is all I want to do. I want to write about Manchester United. I want to write about Aston Villa. I want to write about Arsenal, just because it's your team that you follow. You have to be different to get by. That's why I admire you, Liam, so much, because the work that you're doing with these live stories and your YouTube channel, it's so different. I watched, it's nice that you still obviously focus on Aston Villa, and what I do say to people is you have to enjoy what you're doing. And so obviously for you it's important to write about Aston Villa, but it's good to sort of be thinking outside the box, doing these different things. I remember watching Jude Aston's interview in a couple of episodes back, and I know it's been a tough time for him, but very inspirational young man. And is it Jim Weaver as well, the photographer?
Yes.
Yeah, and enjoyed that episode as well. So
thank you.
Well done to you for getting some good interviews in the bag, and it's going to help you in your career.
Yeah, I think another positive about it as well is it could be a positive and a negative, but the instant feedback, the comment section, that can almost, you talk about yourself at the Athletic now receiving constant feedback, helping you to progress. That section of YouTube, for example, can be a great way to help people progress, can't it?
Certainly, yeah. I feel like the comments on YouTube are a little bit nicer than Twitter.
Yes.
and certainly on the Athletic as well. I genuinely am so grateful for all the Villa fans that subscribe. I'm very conscious that having to pay money for content that me and my colleagues have to provide them with something different. Obviously, what we try to provide is just something that you won't know. And I think if you look at maybe 99 out of 100 stories on the Athletic, you'll learn something every time. And we have a nice comment section as well. I run a Q&A every week, and there's a couple of regulars that I'm now starting to get to know a little bit more, and it's nice to have that interaction. And I'm totally one for constructive criticism as well. If someone comes on and calls me a dickhead, I'm not going to reply to them, but if somebody says to me, Greg, I think you could have done this better, or I'd love to read something on this, I'll certainly take that. I'll certainly, take that on board and try and provide them with that. And also, football's so much about opinions, isn't it? I've got my opinion, but that's not right. It's just my opinion, and that's why I love the Q&As, because so many different Villa fans coming on with different opinions, and that's what makes football great, isn't it?
Yeah, because we talked about fan media, we talked about the Athletic, and it just shows the way journalism is going. And we used to have these paper copies that we could read, but now it's all online and it's more accessible. So do you believe, where do you think journalism and the media will go in 5 years' time? Or do you think that it's so unpredictable, you can't really tell where it's going to go? But do you think it'll be mainly an online source?
Yeah, it's really hard, isn't it? It's difficult for newspapers at the moment. I subscribe to the Telegraph. I think the writers there are fantastic. I've got a lot of respect for the likes of Sam Wallace, John Percy, Matt Law. I think they're fantastic reporters. And for me, I pay £4 a month, which it's nothing really, and that's justified. I like the Times. I think £17 a month's a little bit too expensive, because I probably won't get the value for money out of it that maybe others will. But the amount of content that they produce is fantastic. I firmly believe that it's going down that route, isn't it? The subscription type service. I feel like it's hard, isn't it? You wonder how how sustainable local media is now, because when I started, for example, there was a couple of reporters covering every single club. Now some reporters are doubling up on clubs, and you just feel that, you know, it's getting narrowed all the time, and it's really a shame, because there are some fantastic local reporters who are out of work at the moment, and you know, it just feels like it's a real waste. But it's so hard to predict, Liam. I'd love to have the answer, but I just think that the way what seems to be working now is, if you go back to real old school proper journalism, charge for it, like the Athletic, like the Telegraph, like the Times, that might be more sustainable than relying on clicks and advertising.
Yeah, we mentioned the Athletic a few times now. So when did you get that call to join the team, and what were your predominant emotions during that time?
First, I thought someone was winding me up. I'd never heard of the Athletic. I didn't know what the hell it was. I don't follow any American sports. So, you know, I watch a little bit of basketball, but I don't really know much about, you know, hockey or baseball or American football. So I'd never heard of the Athletic. I got the phone call. I thought it was a wind up, and you know, somebody was offering to increase my salary, to make my working life better, to say that I could write 3 or 4 quality stories a week rather than 8 stories a day. And I just thought, this is definitely a wind up. But, you know, eventually turned out to be true. It was back in June 2019, and had a call from the editor, and he said, look, we're putting together this brand new team. We'd love you to be a part of it. We've followed your work on Aston Villa for some time. We think you'd be the ideal reporter to come in and cover Aston Villa. And look, I'm not going to lie, you know, it was an amazing feeling, because, as I said earlier in the interview, you know, I always felt that, you know, am I good enough to do this? I always felt that, you know, one day I'd be found out for winging it, but
No.
Oh, it's just part of me. You know, sometimes you don't always believe in yourself. I certainly feel like I've changed a bit now over the last 18 months or so. But yeah, when I started, it was a brand new challenge and really exciting.
You believe that being slightly self-deprecating of yourself, I can relate in a certain way. Do you think that helps you to improve? You're always looking for how to improve your work. And do you think that's helped you?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, you know, I always try to get out of my comfort zone. There was a time, as I say, at the start of my career, where I was very nervous, and I'd have done anything to avoid, like, you know, a one-to-one conversation with someone, because I just wasn't comfortable in that. I remember going into a press conference environment, and I was the youngest person in the room. There was, you know, 10, 15, 20 other journalists all asking questions to Mick McCarthy, the Wolves manager, Martin O'Neill, you know, David Moyes, real sort of established football managers. And I was just very nervous, but I can't remember exactly when it was, but I just thought the only way I can get out of this is by taking myself out of the comfort zone as often as I possibly can. And I wake up every day now wanting to be challenged, and that's what sort of gets me going still. And yeah, you know, I do self-evaluate for the first time ever, actually. At the start of October, I set a couple of targets, you know, like life targets almost. One was to exercise a little bit more, and follow a certain training regime. Another one was to save a certain amount of money each month, because my missus is banging on at me that we don't save enough. So I thought, right, I'm going to start doing that. And another one was something to do with work. You know, I won't go into the details of that. It was quite private, but you know, I've almost completed this month now, and I feel that setting those targets has helped massively.
Yeah, the importance of improving your confidence. And in terms of being an interviewer, you've gone on to interview some incredible individuals, such as Jack Grealish and other individuals related to Aston Villa and sport in general. So what have been some of your favourite interviews?
Oh, yeah. I feel like I've done loads, actually, in the last sort of 18 months. You know, I remember me and Dan Bardell as soon as lockdown started.
Yeah, he did loads.
Yeah, it was just ridiculous. Like, we had like 2 every week, and, you know, we were phoning up each other again. But then again, you know, that it was going back to the whole, Dan was challenging me. He was saying, Greg, who are we going to get on this week? And I was challenging him when I couldn't get a player. And, you know, he chipped in with players. And like, we just worked as a real good team, and, you know, brought together probably 10 real good interviews. And not only were they people we haven't really heard of for a while, you know, they were so relevant as well. I remember getting Mile Jedinak on, and, you know, he just left Villa, and, you know, a real sort of engaging character, and just somebody who he's quite difficult to interview, to be honest, Liam, as well, because he's very serious and
Yes,
couple of words out of place, and he's kind of like, "What the hell is that question?" So you have to be very wary of that. And I remember Dan asking him a question. The first question, he said something like, "So how's lockdown been for you?" And you just went, "Yeah, it's been okay," and it was just like deadpan silence after that, and we were like,
no.
I wonder how this interview is going to go. But then after that, he was excellent. Very, very insightful. A lovely man as well. There's a really nice story actually from when Jack Grealish injured. Do you remember when he's injured his kidney? When Tom Cleverley fell on him
against Watford. Friendly. Yeah.
Mile was the first player to, I think maybe the only player as well, the first player to actually go and visit Jack in hospital and say, "Look, Jack, this is going to be a difficult time for you for the next few months, but you're going to be back. You're going to be absolutely fine."
Wow.
And I know Jack, has sort of never forgotten that. And look at him now; he's an England player, captain of Aston Villa, one of the best midfielders in the division. So those wise words were certainly very true from Mile at that time. But yeah, sorry, I'm going off track here.
Absolutely fine. Absolutely
my
fine.
interviews, but Grealish, so accommodating. It was on his 24th birthday last year. We went to the training ground with an idea. I pulled together all of his best goals and all of his best moments, and the idea was for him to talk through them all. And we sat down for a couple of hours. He was brilliant. Went through it all. Really enjoyed putting that together. Gérard Houllier, the old Villa manager, went to his house in Paris.
Oh wow.
Unbelievable apartment, by the way.
Yeah.
he said, we've got into the house and he's got like this room, and it's almost like a football museum. It's just got all the pictures from his career, loads of newspaper clippings. And he said, "Come on, I'll take you upstairs." So we've gone upstairs, and we've gone out onto like this balcony, and there's a swim. No, there wasn't a pool, was there? There was just like lots of sun lounges and a bar, and then it was overlooking Roland Garros, and then in the background you could see the Eiffel Tower.
Oh
and
no!
I just looked at him and I said, "I need to win it. I need to win the UEFA Cup, Gerard. Don't I? I'm never going to have this." But he was brilliant. I spent the whole day with him. He went through the times where he nearly died at Liverpool when he had his heart problems. Yeah, we also had heart problems at Villa. That's why his managerial reign ended. That was really good. Really enjoyed that. Petrov the other week was great. Dan managed to get hold of Wilfred Boomer for our podcast, and that was good fun, because it was someone we haven't heard from for a long time. There's quite a lot. Tommy Elphick, James Chester, they were both great interviews. I went over to Holland to see Ron Vlaar when he was playing
Concrete Ron.
Yeah, and another really accommodating guy. He said, "Look, come in, come and watch training with us. We've got a really young squad here. Come and see how we're getting on, and then I'll do the interview after." And that was nice. There's been a lot really. I can't think of a all off the top of my head, but those are probably ones that stand out the most. Yeah.
Now the 1874 podcast continues to be a prominent force within the Villa community, and I do have a question here from someone. Yes. He goes by the name of, is it Dan Bardell? I can't.
Oh no! What's he teaming up with here?
He said, "Who is the best podcaster you've ever worked with, Greg? Love you on 1874."
He's a joker. The best podcaster I've ever worked with. See, I'm conscious of saying Dan because that means that I'm never going to hear the end of it. But I'm also going to say Dan because he's the only one I've ever worked with. So he's also the best and the worst, all combined, because he's the only one I can relate to.
Yeah, and it goes back to the fan media thing as well, because Dan's worked really hard with the Villa View, and he's got success from that, and he's consequently worked with you at the 1874. So it just shows the importance that fan media plays in nowadays, doesn't it?
Yeah, huge. I've got a lot of respect for Dan for what he's done. He hasn't really got the journalistic background. From what the passage that I've been through, he's gone a different way, but equally brings his qualities to the table. He certainly is a better presenter, host, podcaster than I am. That's not where my my qualities are. I feel I'm a better writer rather than a talker. But I've probably learned quite a lot of him actually, and interacting with him every week on the podcasts certainly has helped me. Provide my style and on podcasts.
Yeah, I think another interview that I remember you and Dan doing as well. So with Tom Hitzelberger, is it?
Yes, yeah. Another.
What was that
one,
experience like?
Thanks for reminding me. Yeah, another brilliant experience. Yeah, I mean, probably right up there. Maybe one I should have mentioned earlier. It just slipped my mind, but Germany, they have a winter break, so they had a warm weather camp in Marbella, and Thomas kindly invited us over to interview him. They had, they hired out a nice hotel where the team was staying, played a couple of friendly games, and were training on site. So we interviewed him in the morning, and then we had some lunch with him, and he showed us around the training facilities and allowed us to watch training. I forgot that Mario Gomez played for Stuttgart, and I thought, yeah, me and Dan were like, bloody hell, we didn't realise he played. Yeah, that's a blast from the past. And we were watching him and some of the other players, and then we did another round of interviews after. So yeah, really thank Thomas for that day. He was so accommodating. And my boss was actually very pleased with that one, because we got 3 podcasts out of it, and we got a written article as well. And it's interesting because that was one of the first interviews that I did at the Athletic, where I actually sat down with my boss prior to interviewing him, and my boss sort of helped me come up with ideas to ask him. And it's weird because I've never had that before. I've always gone into an interview and it's just been whatever I've thought. So that goes back to the whole feedback and helping me develop sort of thing.
Now, finally, you've progressed into a great interviewer, a great writer, great journalist on the whole. So for anyone who's looking to enter this profession, I know it's quite a generic question, but it really helps for anyone who's watching this episode who wants to enter this profession. What advice would you give to them, and what do they need to be? What do they need to be in terms of excelling in this industry? Do they need to be resilient? Do they need to be determined? Do they need to work hard? What sort of core values do they need to possess? And what advice would you give to them? Yes,
certainly all of those, Liam. Conscientious as well, and I suppose don't ever forget don't relegate the importance of fun. You have to enjoy what you're doing. And I always say if you want to be a journalist or a writer, the first thing you need to do is write regularly about something that you enjoy. It's as simple as that, because that will motivate you to keep going. And then when you get past that stage, the second stage, I always say to them, is be different. You have to do something different, because if you go to university along with the other 19,000 or whatever it is, and you come out with a certificate that says that you're qualified, an employer's going to look at you and think, well, okay, there's 19,000 of you. Which one's got something different? And it's finding that niche. Whether it's there's a reporter who works for the Athletic who I absolutely admire. He's the best writer that I've come across, really. I think he's fantastic. His name's Jack Lang, but he is our Brazilian reporter, and he basically knows everything about Brazil, and that's his niche. And as well as being a good writer, that's what's got him that job, because he can do something that not many other people can do. So it's finding something different, finding something that you're good at, and continuing to hammer that, like what you're doing, Liam. As I said, I rate you for what you're doing. And if you can continue doing all these, more interviews, you've got so much experience of interviewing already. But you're not just speaking to somebody about Aston Villa saying, what did you think of the game last week? What do you think the score will be in the next game? Do you know what I mean? It can get repetitive. Anybody can do that. It's finding something different, and then just believing in yourself and fighting hard. And somewhere along the line, you've got to have a little bit of luck. I feel that I've been quite fortunate, but at the same time, when I look back through all the steps, that first interview, I got that job because I did my research. You know, I worked very, very hard in my other roles. That's why I got promoted. You know, sometimes you get what you deserve, really. And I've finally come to learn that, you know, and understand that that's where I'm at now.
Greg, I don't want to take any more of your time. Thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please leave a like and subscribe to the Total Villain. Most importantly, stay safe, stay well, and up the Villa.
But I keep being too caught up by all